The Christian Horner case doesn't seem to be going down anytime soon, and even the dominant 1-2 victory in Bahrain didn't prevent Jos Verstappen from revealing the true colours when talking about the team principle of Red Bull. But with his strong statements about the team's stability being in question with Horner still remaining at the helm of the Austrian team, it triggered an avalanche that could end up with Verstappen leaving for Mercedes, after Jos was pictured having a talk with Toto Wolff earlier this week. Is the Verstappen-Marko coalition going to work against Horner? And more importantly, did they just prove that all of this is an insider job? Jos Verstappen has been reportedly in a very bad relationship with Christian Horner, but few expected him to say what he did, elaborating that the team is in great danger if Horner is to remain as the leader in the foreseeable future. The great question mark here is that while Max still has a valid contract with Red Bull until 2028, it definitely brings up the opportunity for Mercedes to buy him out of his existing deal and bring him into the Silver Arrows from 2025 onwards, now that Hamilton is out of the team. When talking about Horner's current situation, Jos Verstappen went on to say, "The situation is not good for the team and is driving people apart. There is tension here at Red Bull while Horner remains in his position. The team is in danger of being torn apart. It can't go on the way it is. It will explode. Horner is playing the victim when he is the one causing the problems." These are very strong words, and if you think about it, they are more or less reflecting Max's opinion as well, even though the three-time world champion hasn't said a word on this entire situation. While we are very likely to see a lot of drama happening around this case, the fact that Red Bull's brand in Austria decided to drop the case and the female side is quite disappointed with the outcomes goes to show that there are no more straws that somebody can pull if they're to bring down Horner with these allegations. The team did everything they could in order to make sure that this investigation would be conducted properly, and now that Horner has been proven innocent, there might be yet another power shift in Red Bull, one that is believed to be vastly on the Brits' side, hence the comments from Jos Verstappen. But if you can't truly plant accusations on the team leader who won 13 championships with the team, then what is left to be done? Obviously, threaten him with your son's driving contract, as Jos Verstappen was pictured with Toto Wolff earlier this week, having a talk in the most sensitive time that his son's team could have found themselves in. Both Jos and Toto Wolff stayed at the Four Seasons Hotel during the Bahrain Grand Prix, and after the race they had a very lengthy conversation about what could be Jos's son's future with the Silver Arrows. While many of you would perceive this as a far-fetched scenario and question why Verstappen would leave when he has everything he needs with Red Bull, there are two things we need to remind you of here. The difference between him and the rest of the grid points towards the fact that he is the one who is able to extract the potential out of the car, and the second one being that from 2026 onwards, new regulations are coming, and Mercedes, although Hamilton's departure suggests otherwise, might be the favourites to be in the competition. Yes, it does sound kind of bizarre to say that Verstappen could be the next king in Mercedes after what Hamilton has achieved, but if there's anyone out there that could follow and inherit the seven-time world champion's footsteps, it's the Dutchman, and his father has recognised the possibility just about now. This situation further fuels the rumour that all of the leaks were made by Jos Verstappen before the entire allegation case started, considering the fact that it was the Dutch media De Telegraph that put the word out there in the F1 world. However, the three-time world champion's father denied doing such a thing, and when asked about this, he went on to say, "Why would I do that? Max has a contract with Red Bull until 2028. He is performing great and feels at home here. I have no interest in leaking Horner's case to the media at all." To add the cherry to the pie, the same media reported about Max Verstappen's latest actions that have been requested by Ben Mohammed Sulayem to publicly back Christian Horner in order to put this case in the past and make sure that the sport will continue to go in the right direction. However, Max has reportedly denied this, and just one day after, Jos Verstappen comes out with this controversial statement that the team cannot go on with Horner being the team principal, drawing a huge line between two very powerful sides. One formed by the alliance of Verstappen and Marko, and the other by Horner and pretty much everyone else in the paddock. If this development of events is to be believed, then we're going to have a very interesting season for Red Bull in 2024. For starters, the preference, although it wasn't much needed by now due to Perez's lack of competitiveness, will be out of the window. But it doesn't mean that Red Bull would just submit themselves to Verstappen and his wishes, as Horner was quite adamant that there's no driver who could be on top of this team, regardless of how dominant a performance they put in and week out. This definitely brings the opportunity for Red Bull to sign another competitive driver, although most of them are gone from the market, such as Lando Norris or Charles Leclerc. But with Sainz being available and more motivated than ever, and with a couple of tweaks in Red Bull's strategy, they could make Verstappen's life a little bit harder than it is right now. Although, to be fair, there are 0 to a few drivers who could successfully challenge Verstappen in the same machinery as all things stand, unless Red Bull starts to build the car in the other driver's preference, which shouldn't be that big of an issue for Verstappen at all, considering the fact that he could adapt to almost any ride he's given. All of the dots have been connected, and it seems like Toto Wolff has also a huge role to play in this case after all, considering all of the statements he has been making about Horner's case. It could very well mean that the Austrian is playing mind games now that there is a huge opportunity to bring Verstappen to his camp, something he's willing to do and forget about 2021 due to the fact that his best friend, as Toto Wolff used to call Hamilton, left for Ferrari from 2025 onwards. So all of these talks and the pressure being put on Formula 1 and the FIA to put this case in the spotlight rather than dismiss it goes to show that there might be even more developments in the future, even though Red Bull has closed the case and won't reopen it without an appeal from the damaged side, which is the female employee in this question. This is one of the consequences we've talked about in our videos previously. Regardless of how the situation ends, it makes Horner the bad guy, because there will always be people on the grid or in Red Bull that won't be satisfied with how the entire situation ended up. Elaborating on this matter even further, Toto Wolff went on to say, "I think the handling of the situation with Christian Horner is very critical for F1. It's not in the hands of competitors to take any action, and we should look at ourselves in terms of what we can do to optimize on all of these topics. Equality and diversity, that is what we're doing, and I'm very proud we're at the forefront of that. To judge another person or another team, that is the job of the governing body. They have it in their hands, and this is probably where we need to look." It's very interesting to see how Perez will perform in all of this situation, because the drama is going in his favor if he knows how to utilize it properly. Yes, Helmut-Marko did slam the Mexican driver once more by saying that he has Verstappen on his mind way too much and that it's hurting his chances to perform better, so the sole goal should be focusing on the number 2 position on the grid. But if the team decides that there's no more favoritism and playing the ultimate game here, which is to continue the dominance with Verstappen, then there would be some questionable actions that could bring further drama on the grid between both Red Bull drivers. Although, we must be fair and say that Perez hasn't been on the required level to challenge Verstappen. While we talk about this, his seat is also in huge danger if he doesn't perform better. So, this entire case and the Verstappens turning against Horner could benefit him a lot if it all turns out well for the 50-year-old Brit. With this being said, it's never a good thing to have one driver feel like he's above the team, no matter how much dominance he displays on the grid, because things change very quickly, and from hero, you could quickly go to zero. It's obvious that there's a power shift currently happening in Red Bull, but maybe Marko and Jos have taken a bite they cannot chew on, considering the power that Horner has inside the team. And while Verstappen's future in the sport is more than certain with lots of championships to come, he could be used as a pawn by his own father to play the ultimate game of getting rid of Horner. Do you think that Verstappen would leave for Mercedes if he was to be presented with the opportunity? Let us know in the comments below.